Hello. Welcome to a belated Discussing Tabletop. Sorry about a little bit of a break there. It happened. You know, we tried, but we were unsuccessful at getting there for it. But guess what? The two of us are at least, and we're hopefully going to have a couple of guests in the next couple of weeks that can help us with things. I've talked to a few people, couldn't join us today, but hopefully we'll have a return of Boone. But we'll see on that one. Let's dive into it for this 8th of September. I believe it's our 86th episode. Finally.
Our day.
We got an amazing docket to go into, so I'm gonna just dive into that one. Get over some trees. We're just gonna speed into things a little bit too much. Just so
we're finishing up on 3 weeks, basically.
A little bit of 3 weeks, like 2.5 weeks, so that next time we have it is not going to be quite as it. So,
yeah.
Magic the Gathering, it's PAX announcements. We're going to go over a couple of them. Just a couple of them. There's a lot of stuff that they talked about, things they showed off. We're not going to handle it all. We're going to handle some of it. I wanted to talk about the Pathifnder Adventure Path, the new path, the Return of the Runelords, which is a sequel to some of their previous. Star Trek Galactic Enterprises, the board game. Mansion of Madnesses has news for download. If you're using the app to run it, the Maidens board game, the Untiy RPG, the Doppleganager, a card board game that is based one of the players being the player Doppleganger. Tail Fluxx comes soon. The Epic Spell Wars expansion looks kind of interesting. And it all up, the done by days of people that do Ticket to Ride. I almost blanked. Yes. A lot of stuff to handle, but let's talk about the big in the room, the boom one, the PAX announcements. There's two we wanted to handle today, and the first is that announced the return of Magic the Gathering novels. And I think that's an interesting one. I mean, I've seen a Magic the Gathering. I think since 2013 was the last time that 2011 time that one actually came out. It was a Scars of Marzen book. They did do some ebooks in between there. In 2013, 2014, that was the last time we actually saw anything, but they were much smaller. Like the Return of Ravnica had some ebooks, but they were like, the biggest one was 97 pages, and the Theros ones, the largest one was like 120, which is like half the size of a normal novel. So it's been quite a while since we had a full one. Now, granted, we've seen the stories they've put out, like the weekly, like when they're doing like block stuff, they have like their kind of weekly stories that tell stuff, which are very good writing. I have to say, I've enjoyed them a lot, reading through them as a kind of person that's more of a fan of lore. It's been great, but I don't know what this will mean for them if we're having an actual full novel. Does this mean we'll still get them?
Right. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting that they're coming back with it, though, because it's being gone for so long, which I didn't even realize because I never really read the novels.
That's the thing is, I read a couple of the earlier ones, but that was it. You know, I didn't really dive into it much after that. By the time they got to their like actual block-based ones, I think I read one, and that was like the Prophecy book, which that was like after their first kind of wave of them, you know?
Right.
So that's just a small bit away. You know, it's just a little off from that.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, we've seen that Magic does a good job with these usually. I mean, if it's the same kind of people that do a lot of their other, the Wizards' other novels groups, I can't really bust them for it. You know, if it's the people that do D&D ones, things like that. You know, like Salvador, who does all the Drit series. He's a good writer. People like his series. Granted, the like of that character is a mixed bag for people. But the fact is that we can't really complain too much about the job he does. If they get some people as good as him, well, that's great. It's just that I'm just curious, you know, if this means that, because the thing is, they're taking something that they've been offering for free now for a while, and are they just charging for it now?
Right.
It's going to be more because, like, I guess writing a novel, it's novel, so it's going to be a lot bigger. Okay, great. So it'll be a lot more story, and so maybe that's why they might have to pay someone, because, like, when they pay someone for, like, a couple of pages of, you know, story up on a website, that's different than an entire novel. And I understand that, too. It probably costs them a lot different, you know, amount. That, you know, the storyline that they just put up is more, promo? That's what I'm looking for.
Right.
While on the other hand, you got big old book. So I don't know, it's gonna be interesting. I'm curious as to where they're gonna go with the novel and how good it will be and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. Now
Then there's the real big news.
God, yeah. Then there's the real big news. I'm not gonna dive into all the crap that's going on with, you know, Guilds of Ravnica and the announcements for that and some of the problems that are existing. We'll talk more about those announcements later, especially the Biobox controversy that's been evolving, which is continuing with this one. But I want to talk about, it's the Guilds of Ravnica, I believe, are they Masterpieces they called?
Yeah, Masterpieces, you said.
Or is it Mythic Edition?
I think it might be the Mythic Edition, technically, because that's what I saw. You were saying it was Masters, but...
Yeah, I know I was kind of wrong, probably.
Yeah, because they're all Mythic cards, so I think it's the Mythic Edition.
Yeah, that's what they're calling it, the Mythic Edition. Okay, so this is one that,
Which, the site I found is saying it'll be available October 3rd for $249.99.
Yeah, $250. It's a box. It's a box of Magic cards. So, like, traditionally, you can normally get a box somewhere for a good price from, like, about, like between 110 to 150, I'd say, you get a box for. So, the thing is here's the big detail. It's not 36 card box. It's a 24 card box. Or 24 pack box.
Yeah.
So we're already a third of the packs you would normally have. Now, in these packs,
8 of the boosters are going to be clearly marked as Masterpiece boosters.
And are going to have one of the Masterpiece cards in each of them. Each box will have a playset of the Masterpieces. So this is an interesting juxtaposition from previous types. Well, I'm sorry, they're Mythic, whatever. It's Masterpiece series. It's the Masterpiece series returning in an unusual way. And, you know, it's like I think we all kind of were, I don't know, I would say okay, but I thought like the Masterpiece similar types of series from Zendikar was okay. You know, it was all basically special lands brought back that were very hard to find, you know, with alternate art. The same could be said a lot of the stuff that was in the Kaladesh block. Then the Amonkhet one was just kind of weird. We all remember how they looked. They were trying to make them stylized, very Egyptian. Just weird.
Right.
For these, they're just basically like full art cards with the writing and stuff all pasted on top of them, and they're for Planeswalkers, which they've only showed off 7 of them. Now, they look awesome.
Oh yeah, they look freaking amazing.
Now, the only thing I've heard about is, which we haven't fully confirmed because there's only like one official video of it, it's supposedly they are going to be more the holographic, or not the holographic, the well, you know what I'm talking about.
Shiny.
The shiny. They're going to be shiny. Now the problem is apparently the shiny type that they're doing is similar to the shiny type that they did with their From the Vault series, which apparently is notorious for curling. So put them in a sleeve or storage as soon as you get them, kind of thing. Which, okay, that necessarily isn't a big, terrible thing. Maybe because these are, you know, that's their production value and it's getting the shine that they want. That's why they're using this one, and it does create a little bit of a problem that way. And technically these are all reprints. I'm fine with that. Ultra special reprints, that's a fine thing, you know. It's not messing with the core market of the price of the card, you know.
Right.
Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, is going to be the same price as he ever was for his use. This is just an alternate, awesome-looking version of him. But, I mean, there's just something weird about this and the problem. Because you're not getting it from local game stores. You're getting it from Hasbro or / Wizard directly.
Right.
They're putting it up on their archaic, terrible site, which we were having problems like dealing with.
I can't find anything on it yet. Now, it could be that they're not going to put anything up until the day of the release because of, you know, they're not going to take, you know, any pre-orders or anything else.
Yeah.
But you think they would at least mention that it's coming on there.
Yeah, that's a thing. Like, when I look on the Hasbro site for, like, Magic, the only thing
Hasbro, you can't even find anything.
I found a Monket for a quick search. That was it.
Yeah, I just typed in Magic and nothing came up.
Yeah, so think about that. You typed in nothing. I typed in one thing, and I got I got a Monket Fat Pack and a Deck Builder's Toolkit.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. So, that's supposed to be up on there only for US and Canada. So we're in a global company. We're not going very global with this one.
Yeah, and I think that's going to piss off a lot of people outside America and Canada that, hey, why can't we buy this?
Yeah. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the price point either. Let's take the high end and a booster box, $150. I'm buying $100 worth of cards and $150 for these masterpieces. Now, granted, I will accept the argument that if it was the old Masterpiece series, I might have to buy how many boxes or buy them individually, and they'd be so much more expensive. So,
right. And I can understand it, but at the same time, the fact that you're also guaranteed, to me, takes out the rarity of them.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, it's like
oh, if you have the money to put up for them right away, you're basically paying an extra $100 to guarantee yourself these 8 mythics.
And that's the thing is, I think that's a difference in the way that they're looking at the Masterpiece to these mythic kind of things. The Masterpiece series, I never actually even like aimed to get them. They're way too expensive, way too rare, way too hard to get. So it's kind of like, oh, I got one. Woo! That was the kind of thing, you know. I wasn't gonna buy a billion booster boxes to try to get the entire playset of them. That's another reason that I don't, for my Magic collection, I don't focus on promos, because promos are expensive and really ridiculously hard sometimes. There are some ridiculous ones, but it was a different kind of feeling. This is a premium. I'm just buying a ridiculous thing, and
right.
If you think about it, it is so much more expensive than a normal box. So, it's expensive enough to get a box as a normal person, and especially if we consider younger audience, like teenagers, college-age people that are Magic players. Maybe, you know, buying a box is the big thing they can do. So could they afford this? Probably not. This is for, you know, rich Magic customers.
Yeah.
Rich.
I mean, that's why I never, you know, tried to. That's why I really don't do releases and stuff, because, you know, getting into that and then maybe even going to like the big events and stuff. The people who have money are the ones who are gonna eke out more.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. The way that Magic has been set up, it is definitely oftentimes a money game, unfortunately, and it's very hard to fight that. The Wizards doesn't even try, you know.
Right.
That's the thing; they don't even try. There's the entire secondary market for Magic is something that apparently they don't even acknowledge exists. They stick their hands in their ears and go, la 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 la, no secondary market, reselling all our stuff, la la la. Well, I think it's that they don't consider it.
Right.
For their decisions.
Well,
So,
there's no way they can make money off of it, really, so...
Yeah. Well,
they don't care.
That's what this is, though. A money-making way. I think someone said that they're trying to order, like... was it like 10,000 of these? So that's $2.5 million that they will get. They will get it. 10,000 sounds like a lot. It's not. You have to consider there are millions of people playing Magic around the world. Millions.
But but also they're only focusing on America and Canada for it.
And how many are going to be bought up by people who are planning to resell them on the secondary market? For
profit? A lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You're probably going to have stores buying them just so they can get their hands on the these mythic ones and resell them.
Yeah, I'm sure. There's going to be a huge secondary market created by this, and it's going to be very profitable for not Magic, for not Wizards.
Yeah.
And the thing is, again, they're also, like, for a company that's very local game stores oriented, because you have to think about this. The majority of Magic products are focused on local game stores. Sure, I can walk into a Walmart and see a couple of Magic things, but I don't feel like they ever sell to the same degree as you would in, like, your local store, your local comic shop that sells Magic cards also.
Right.
It's an exact different thing. And they're shafting those guys. You know, it's... Why, even if they stayed to America, why couldn't they have just, like, given, like, a couple to stores? So, like, you know, oh, every store that, you know, supports us gets, like, 2.
Yeah, they're cutting out the middleman completely, and that's really not fair to these small game stores that, you know, hell, we've seen them in the area that it's hard for a game store to stay open.
Mm-hmm.
There's only a handful that I could say have been around for more than 10 years.
Yeah. And my question is then, since they're trying to sell these directly, will they update their terrible website?
No.
No, I've heard stories on Twitter and stuff of it crashing a whole bunch and having infamous problems whenever, like, they put something special for Magic. Because I think it was the San Diego Comic-Con. They had Planeswalker exclusives. They had a set of, like, 5 Planeswalkers with also very cool art. You know, I think it was, like, the Guild Pack. They had their, like, a bunch of them with the special art. They eventually put all the ones they had left over from San Diego, up on their website as a playset you could buy. This, I don't mind it at that point in time. Promo for an event, you have leftovers, you throw it up somewhere that it can be sold. You know, that's different than this.
Right.
This is more than a promo. Like, if they were just selling these on their own, I think I would feel a lot differently about it. But I don't think they could get away with a $150 profit on just these 8 alone, either, is the problem.
No.
By packaging it with the box, they're definitely making it seem it's better value. And we've been trained with the Masterpiece series, which unfortunately, again, is another like rich man's series, to accept that expensiveness. There's a reason that I I think I've only ever collected some of one Masterpiece series. They are way too expensive. It's like
Right.
what, $9 a pack.
Yeah, they're always super expensive. It's just like they're cool cards, but do you really have the money to just throw out there?
And I think their excuse is awful because I think the reason that they put it so expensive is that the cards that they reprinted in there didn't lose value. But don't you want it to lose value to a degree? I would rather that maybe $100 card is reduced to $50, because then it's more people's wheelhouses.
Right.
Or that like card that's $10 goes down to $5, because then it's like, oh, that $5 card, that like card that's $10 makes me double take it much more than a $5 one. You know, that kind of thing. It makes a difference in when you're gonna like buy these individually, because again, secondary market is a big thing in Magic.
Right.
I don't know. I think it's just the product itself. I don't think is necessarily bad, but I think it hints at a lot of the problems that could occur and could get worse. This is a bad example.
Yeah.
You know, it's like with the, which I want to talk about more next week, the buy a box promos. The example that's been set this year is a bad one. A very, very bad one. And they're continuing it. I don't know. I don't know how much of this is actually Wizards and how much of this is Hasbro, too. It's got to be some kind of combination between the two of them, but I don't know. Again, the cards look really cool.
Yeah, I mean, the artwork looks freaking amazing. It's probably some of the best artwork they've done.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is they've done some really great stuff. And the interesting thing about it is they are all kind of telling a story, too. Because I think the best one out of all of them really is Elspeth. Because she's dead. And I'm pretty sure they're showing her in Theros' Land of the Dead. According to the storyline, she's dead. So that means there might be interesting storylines of bringing back. So that's lore, you know, because I'm the big lore guy, you know. So I'm enjoying seeing that because of that little fact there. I find it interesting.
Yeah.
Man. Well, the good thing is also they're limiting 2 per customer. But I mean, if you got a whole bunch of people working for your store or your online group and you have them all get it for you for like a smaller profit, you know, here's a portion of the profit. Go get these for me and I'll resell them. People will definitely do that. Man.
Very true. But I mean, at least they're trying to
evolve what they're doing.
Well, no, what I mean with the
the $2
with the limitation, they're trying to make sure people aren't hoarding.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll give them credit for that.
Yes, that was a smart thing to do. That you couldn't get more than 2. That's definitely was something that with this kind of thing, if they want to get them to as many people as possible, they should do. I just think it is when those lucky people that are getting in there almost should buy 2 because you can resell the other for a profit or something, or you know. Yeah. I don't know. It's it's just going to be a question of who gets in there and who doesn't crash the site and all that kind of stuff when it happens. Why don't we move on? Because I mean, this quagmire could be delved into even more, but we probably shouldn't for our own sanity's sake.
Yeah. And we have a lot else to get to.
Yes. Let's talk about Pathfinder, Return of the Runelords. It's a new adventure path from Paizo, of course. They are bringing back the Runelords.
I'm very surprised on this since, they're starting to focus on Pathfinder 2.0?
Well, I think because Pathfinder 2.0 is still in their playtests, I'm thinking it's going to be an interesting thing here with this, that this might be the last full adventure path. And what it's going to do is, the first adventure path they actually did, Rise of the Runelords.
Right, so it might be going full circle.
Exactly. And I think that's what they're trying to do, is go a little bit of full circle, which is actually kind of a cool thing to do. I can commend them for almost a storyline of full circle. That's an interesting way of doing it, and kind of connecting everything together. It's cool. Now the thing about this is it is kind of a continuation of that story from Rise of the Runelords. That in that one you stopped one of the Runelords from returning, basically the powerful spellcasters who dominated all of Galarian for some period of time, and then we see the return of the rest of them. Actually, is what is going on. Like the rest of the Runelords are coming back in force and attempting to reclaim their domination.
Right.
I'm just curious about when you had one story dealing with one of the Runelords and now you're trying to get like all of them. How epic are you supposed to go with this one? Granted, I don't think you kind of got it quite. You didn't. I never finished Rise of the Runelords. I was pretty close to the end of it, but you don't get to maximum level there. You get to like 14, 15. So I mean, I can see how like getting up there when at 14 and 15 you're fighting one, and maybe if you're going to like 20, you could fight a whole bunch of them. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting, and I kind of want to get an idea of how the adventure path will.
Well, I see the first one was already released.
Yeah, Secrets
August.
of Roderick's Cove came out in our 2-week interim, or 2/3 week interim. That's the start of it. And they usually come out with one about a month, so we can consider that it'll be about early next year when they finally come out.
Yeah, because I'm seeing the release dates here. The next one's releasing this month.
Yeah.
Oh, it released this month actually already. It looks like.
I don't know if they're exactly like once a month. They might sort of stack up a little bit.
Well, no, it's once a month because then October is supposed to release one, November, December, and then January is supposed to be the last one. Is the expected release dates?
So then just the question is adventure number 138, which will be because all the adventures technically the Adventure Path series have numbers, which is kind of actually impressive as you consider that is 13 adventure paths that they put out then.
Right.
Oh no, I'm sorry. 23. I made a mistake there. Because it's 6 per piece. 23 adventure paths that they put out over the series of the normal Pathfinder. It's an impressive number of them, and I've only actually had some chances to experience a handful of them. Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see when you're supposed to be kind of fighting them.
Well, let's see. The names of them so far are the Secrets of Roderick's Cove, It Came to Hollow Mountain, Rune Plague, Temple of the Peacock Spirit, City Outside of Time, and then Rise of Thassalon. Or
Thassalonian.
Thassalon.
Because Thassalon was the nation that was under their control.
Okay.
So that makes sense that that'd be the last one. Now, Paizo's site doesn't have the last two because I'm feeling like they might change the names of those before the end. They haven't finalized it on their personal story.
Right. The site that I'm on, which is Pathfinder Wiki, they have the pictures of the first 3 books listed, and then the last 3 they don't have pictures for. So.
And I don't even know if they have the finalized pictures, because that's something that I've noticed in when I was doing a lot of things, we're gathering like adventure path pictures. There's usually 2 of them. A primary one that was started out as their one they first showed off,
right,
and then the one that they finalize with. So that's actually an interesting thing that they do. That they show off hey, I guess early on you can find here's what these are going to look like, and then they finalize them, and it sometimes looks a little different. Especially the formatting of the words and stuff seems to look different more than the art sometimes.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing is, like, you're starting out very simple as usual. That, you know, the ancient wizards that return to the land are returning, and you're in Roderick's Cove that has to deal with that. You know, it's kind of like you're starting at that little basics and kind of moving on from there.
Yeah, you're putting together, it says, after a deadly brawl breaks out, the heroes must piece together the troubles of the small town. Along the way, they stumble upon something larger than a faction squabbles among the townsfolk. An ancient smoldering threat has flared to life. The powerful ancient wizards who once ruled this land are returning.
Yeah. I mean... Man. Rune Plague is kind of ridiculous because it's like a horrible, like, polymorph plague. That's kind of cool. That's a little different than I think most of the storylines that we've heard now. I like where the storylines are going just from the sounds of it, so that's an interesting thing. A little difference in the way that they do things is one of those things that make the adventure paths actually really good. They do have some very carbon, you know, traditional fantasy RPG tropes very often, but when they throw a little bit of things here and there that makes it unique. And if this is the bookend, I want to kind of see where it ends up. I'd be curious if they put out any more under the normal Pathfinder after this one. If in February we would see another, or if that's when we're going to be seeing more Pathfinder 2.0 by then, that will make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense that they're bookending it to, you know, kind of finish out, you know, first edition and then start something new with second edition. Like, this could, you know, maybe, you know, the last thing also changes the world in some drastic way, and it explains why 2.0 is happening, you know, why the changes in the world are
changes
what
in
they
the
are.
setting. Yeah,
right.
That they can have those, and those changes in the setting would then it would make sense then after that you could then switch over to producing more books based on areas that you may have already had books and stuff on, because there'd be update stuff. Granted, then it might just be like regions and stuff or something like that you could evolve it in the ever-changing it, or new nations that have emerged or stuff like that. And
it would make a great segue into the new system that, okay, the world has changed drastically because of this, you know, because of these guys coming back, and you know, and kind of explain, hey, that's why this new system is different.
This is why the story works differently. This is why the regions that you would normally have are different. All that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Right.
No, I can see it. I find it's just very interesting. I'm gonna hold my tongue basically and see like how this adventure path evolves, and if it is going to be the bookend that we're kind of thinking it almost is.
Right.
So, we'll have to wait and see. But if you enjoyed Rise of the Runelords, Return of the Runelords, it's out now, and I would highly recommend it. I loved Rise of the Runelords. It was a fun one to play, so I definitely think Return will be a fun one to do too.
Right. No, it looks really good.
All right. Why don't we continue on our path though? Because we have a bunch to cover. Star Trek Enterprises, which is this is a tricky one, because if you're looking at because it's not Enterprise, it's Enterprises as a board game. So
I also think it's interesting that it doesn't seem really have much to do with the Enterprises.
No, it's Enterprises as in like financial enterprises.
Yeah, it's not what you first think, because it has to deal with the Ferengi.
Yep.
Which
it's Deep Space Nine
races,
too.
Yeah, top two favorite races for me are Klingons and the Ferengi. So this makes me excited.
Yeah, this was definitely an interesting one to see that it came out. It was WizKids again. WizKids does come out with a lot of interesting branded stuff, but I don't think you necessarily are just the Ferengi though from it.
No, but I think it's focusing on it because it says no. It is, you are the Ferengi because it says 3 to 8 Ferengi buy and sell their wares, trying to monopolize a particular item for greater profit. However, once the Ferengi get those same items for sale, it becomes a matter of negotiation. Do you work together to gain the same profit, or do you agree to cooperate and sell at a lower price to steal all the profit for yourself?
Okay.
So you are all Ferengi.
Okay. Well, that's fine too. I mean, you can be all Ferengi.
The bigger the smile, the sharper the knife. The Ferengi who has earned the most profit becomes the first clerk.
Ooh. First clerk. Better than second clerk.
And it has bars of gold pressed latinum.
Yeah, it does have little bars of gold pressed latinum. I will give them that they've done some interesting things with that. And
the cards actually reminisce a bit of the old Star Trek trading card game in design.
Yeah. Well, they might have taken influence from it. I mean, that's an easy influence to take because it is something that exists out there that you can definitely use as an example.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There we go. Got it up in view for everyone to see. Enjoy! Galactic Enterprises.
Ooh, rule of acquisition cards.
That's the thing about this one. I thought it was like, I would like to see more specific things like this. You know, Star Trek is a big product line, and we haven't seen as much on it.
No, this looks freaking awesome.
No, and it's definitely something that
he's off on Monday.
And it's only $17.99.
Yeah, it's a good price. That's actually not a bad price at all for like the little latinum things and stuff. $17.99. If you found it for that, it's a good price because they put it up originally for $25 on WizKid's site.
Okay, well I'm finding an ad on Board Game Geek,
which some place might sell it for a little less. You know, $25 is
cool,
probably the standard
cool stuff.
price.
It's coolstuffinc.com for $17.99. You save $7.
See, there you go. They probably are, you know, got a good deal on it for bulk or something, or, you know, they're just not taking as much profit from it. Because $25 is just a standard, you know.
And $25 is still a good price.
Yeah, no, not for a little game with little, like, bars and stuff and all the cards and things. This looks like it's a very good one. The rules are up on WizKids, because they're usually pretty good about putting rules up. I would definitely love to see, again, like I was trying to say, more Star Trek products maybe like this, or more licensed products like this that take the world that's been established and look at it from a different angle, because when you're stuck to just the, you know, Enterprise crew is fun for a lot of products, but you run out of things you can do.
Yeah, and there's so many other cultures like the Ferengi and stuff too that you can explore, that I'm surprised there isn't more games of this nature out there.
Yeah. Things that are using a lot of the lore and stuff that they established to come up with more interesting things. I don't know. If this is successful from WizKids, maybe we'll see more stuff like this. And I would love to see more stuff like this. This certainly does look like a interesting little thing, because it's also a type of game that we don't get a lot of, a fantasy business design.
Yeah.
You know, there aren't many business games out there.
No, but this one, you know, with the Ferengi twist, I think is going to be really good.
It's Star Trek and Ferengi and Deep Space Nine, if you're a fan of any of those things. And, you know, if you ever wanted to, like, go for your inner greed and profit, you know, here you go.
Well, and the Ferengi really came to, I'm trying to think of the proper word.
It's not fruition.
Popularity
on Deep Space Nine.
In Deep Space Nine, because they were featured more.
Yeah, because
the ones that when in Next Gen, as much as I love Next Gen, were very, very basic.
Yeah.
And more just dicks.
Yeah. It wasn't until Deep Space Nine, when they had a reoccurring one, that they really showed off their culture more and made them interesting characters. Because they were still kind of dicks, but, like...
They weren't violent dicks.
Yeah. that's the thing is, it was all about the profit, which it really was supposed to be for them, but they were almost more savage and violent when we saw them in Next Gen.
And pool noodle.
And pool
That's all I have to say.
Oh, yeah. You mean their electro
Their
whip?
laser, yeah, their laser whip, which was just like, it's a giant pool noodle that they use special effects to make it glow.
And it could also shoot lasers.
Yes, it was ridiculous, and it was like, really?
God. Oh, it's so...
I'm glad DS9 kind of fixed them.
Yeah.
Although, if you remember at the end of DS9,
yeah,
Rom became
Grand
Nagus and was making them more of a nicer society.
Yes, he was trying to influence them towards maybe actually going towards a direction that would join something like the Federation and stuff. It sounded like during the time of Deep Space Nine there was a lot of reforms going along with the previous Grand Nagus, even like small ones and stuff.
Well, that was because of the Quark's mother.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like, that was an interesting juxtaposition in the evolution of society that had gone to space age and been that way. And it also showed off something interesting, that even like when you go to something like a space age, you can still go back and have dramatic changes in society from where you've been there.
Well, which makes sense, because as you mingle with other races, there are going to be some cultural exchange.
Mm-hmm. It seemed like for them it took quite a while, because their system was adaptable to space being a mercantile society.
Right. No, yeah, definitely. And it's just like, why do we need to change?
We're still getting profit.
And Quark, I just love Quark's rant at the end, where he's just like, the Nivar will be the last bastion of true Ferengi. Water down the drinks. No time off for any of my employees. Everyone's getting cut. Their salaries are getting cut.
Yeah, good times. No, because I had I think in the last year watched through both of Deep Space Nine and Voyager, so I enjoyed quite a bit, and I'm glad to see a game like this because that's another thing. Deep Space Nine products. It's technically a Deep Space Nine product if you think about it. It's on the box.
I mean, I'm still disappointed to this day that Deep Space Nine never got a movie.
Neither did Voyager, so...
But
they
Voyager,
resolved everything.
Yeah, that's the thing is, Voyager encapsulated and closed their story completely.
Yeah.
Deep Space Nine had a cliffhanger open. We don't know what exactly is going on with Sisko.
Yeah. It's like the Sisko will return, kind of thing. Like at the end of Avengers, blah, 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 will return.
Yeah. It's like, it would have been nice even if they made a TV movie to really resolve everything.
Yeah, no, I agree. That would have probably been very good.
But they focused on, doing more of the next-gen movies, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just kind of it fizzled away after Enterprise.
Yeah.
For a while.
Well, we'll see if the resurgence of Star Trek products and series and all stuff, because they are making more of them, and
there's supposed to be a new Picard series.
And it seems like they're making attempts to improve Discovery and stuff too, which I never finished the season, but apparently, I've heard that it wasn't a bad ending to it.
Yeah, I only saw the first two episodes. Well, the pilot episode, which is broken up into two.
Well, it's like another one of those little details I heard about, which you'll like. The Klingons, the ones that we saw were supposed to have shaved themselves, and that's why they were bald.
Ah.
Because they were religious fanatics.
Okay, that's a little bit better, but the language still didn't sound right.
Whatever. Anyway, let's move on, because we can argue about Star Trek for a long time.
Yes.
Let's just hit one up quickly here. Mansions of Madness has new scenarios for download. I was going to go over this one. We were going to go over more, but, missed a bunch of weeks, so I still want to mention these topics. So Mansions of Madness, if you know about it, it's a board game where originally one person was supposed to take control of it as sort of the mastermind of it and play it against everyone else. The company put out an app to replace the person, which is great. because that was one of those problems, is you always needed one extra person to play Mansions of Madness, because you needed the guy in charge, and that always made it just a little bit more difficult to play. Now a phone or a tablet can play against you,
Right.
and that's fun. And opening new scenarios means that it's more options for ways to play through the game, because I think it was like a little bit like Betrayal has scenarios. It's a lot like that. So more of them, great. I don't know if the new Mansions of Madness scenarios were.
There's one that requires the first edition core box, which is the Fall of House of Lich. But it says people can upload. There's actually player-created scenarios as well. Right now, there's 2 scenarios available: Fallout House of Lich and Exotic Materials.
Yeah. And it looks like they're putting out a couple more. I don't know.
Okay,
The Altered Fates DLC scenarios are available Amazon, the App Store, Google Play, and Steam.
Yeah, it looks like it right now. It's only available on.
It is free though.
Yeah, but it looks like it's only available on Android.
I think you can get through Amazon and maybe Steam too if you're using those versions of it. But like
Right, but I'm saying for like it
For
looks
phone.
like that because of an issue with there's some kind of issue with Apple, so it's unlikely they're going to release one for any Apple products.
for the App Store. It's probably just
Yeah.
on Google Play, Steam, and Amazon right now.
Right.
So there is that disadvantage. They'll probably try to fix it. But if you want the Altered Fates DLC scenarios, that's awesome. If it's like a bunch of new ones that you can play through, that adds a lot more to the game, and they're offering it for free. So, I mean, that's wonderful for them. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I commend Fantasy Flight for that one. So, I think that's what we just want to handle some basics about it. We'll not worry about going into too much detail today. Epic Spell Wars. It has a new expansion. I have these. The thing about Epic Spell Wars is it's a very interesting game.
Yes.
If you know like the heavy metal magazine and TV series or not the TV, movie series kind of thing that came out back in like the 80s and early 90s, they were very stylized, very heavy metal. Epic Spell Wars is taking a lot of that flavor and making a very kind of like its own style.
I need to excuse myself for one moment, but I'll let you continue.
Okay. So, it's
Hey, sweetie.
they've come out with the original and a few expansions over the time period now. I think this is the 4th one now. The thing about these, at least, is that they are standalone, is the best way to say it. Like, I have the Epic Spell Wars 2, and I play it on my own. I do not require the original Epic Spell Wars. Big advantage that you don't have to worry about having the original. I'm just getting the image here for you guys to check out. Give me a second here. But it's I find it always very interesting and crazy. And as soon as I get the picture here, you'll get an idea of the art style. Yeah, that's the art style. Kind of crazy. Kind of, yeah. It's an interesting game. I've not had a problem with the game. It's a fun game. It's kind of got like a weird, almost like, I want to say like, I can't describe the aesthetic, but it's the 4th one. It's awesome and mature content and profanity. I mean, it really is like, this is a mature game. Epic Spell Wars, it always is. And having the 4th one coming out is kind of cool. That they're expanding on it even more, that they're keeping up with it. Because that's another thing is, a lot of times board games try to be very family friendly. You don't get a lot which are more sticking with the entire mature themes. And to find one that is very pushed forward on the idea of being a mature themes is kind of cool to see. It's reassuring that we'll maybe see some kind of interesting stuff like that maybe in the future, because it's gonna like be the last one. It's you could stand alone or play with the other ones. It introduces a couple interesting things. They have like a quick match rules now for making the standard game more quicker. So they got a lot of cool things. 90 spell cards, 8 wild magic cards, 8 oversized wizard cards, 25 treasure cards, 25 dead wizards cards, a lot of tokens, some dice, the Pleasure Palace standee, a rather inappropriate bag, and a rule book. That's what they actually call it. They just call it a rather inappropriate bag. That's the unusual thing about it. Yep. They're sticking with a very like interesting aesthetic for that one. So but again, I played the second one. I own the second one. It's fun. It's a fun game. It's very crazy. It's very weird. And you know, I'd recommend checking out at least Epic Spell Wars. It's a fun one. Definitely. All right. I don't know if Joe's gonna have anything to mention about Epic Spell Wars, but why don't we kind of move along though, because we don't have a wow, my spelling is so bad. So bad. It's one of those days where you're trying to spell something and you just don't. Anyway, WizKids, once again, being the top of the line of the ones that I'm talking about. They've released Maiden's Quest, which is an interesting game in and of itself because it's taking the kind of fantasy idea of the maiden that's waiting to be rescued, and it's changing it because it's the maiden is tired of waiting to be rescued and takes upon herself to fight the enemies and escape. This is what it is you're taking the role of the damsel in distress and saying, screw it, I'm gonna save myself, which is always a fun thing because that's is that the correct one? No, it is not. It's not the correct Maiden's Quest window. There we go. I'm trying to get you guys images as I've been doing here, and it's trying to be difficult. And it's interrupting my thought patterns. Isn't that wonderful? Especially because I'm talking with myself because Joe isn't here. Always something. Maiden's Quest is right there. Excellent. So, where was I? It's supposed to take about 30 minutes to play. I'm not sure how many players. You can do solo co-op or competitive 2-player games. So it's not meant for a lot of players, which is interesting about this one here. I can check. Let me just check downloadable rules from them to see if there's any way to get more than 2 players. Yeah, it's a 1 to 2 player game. Or wait, you can play with more players if you have multiple copies of Maiden's Quest. So you need a single copy of the game will only be for 1 or 2 players. And now it does have 160 cards in it, which is a good deal of cards, and the price point is $20, which is okay. But facing a game where you need more than 1 copy, I've been in that situation where 1 copy will only get you so many players. So this one's supposed to be fairly easy to play, like 30 minutes or less. A round of play can be like 30 seconds if likes. And you encounter you resolve encounters separately. English. So, and the fact that there's 3 ways of doing it, solo, co-op, or competitive, really awesome. And you would have to check the rules to see how all the more groups of people integrate together for bigger games. No, this is a fun one. It definitely turns things around, and I definitely want to talk about it. Hey, did you have anything on Epic Spell Worlds? I moved on.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
I didn't see a lot on the new, what they were expanding.
It's the 4th one, technically.
Yeah.
It's like the, I'm already forgetting the name. It's like the something at Pleasure Palace, you know? It's supposed to be more like, I guess, more, Not that the entire game isn't adult-oriented. It's, I guess, it's supposed to be more adult-oriented with, like, jokes around that. But I was talking about Maiden's Quest, which is an interesting game by WizKids that's, you're playing the damsel in distress that's decided to take rescuing yourself in your own hands.
Nice. So you're kind of Fiona-ish?
Yes. Sure. That's actually a good way. It's a game where you can play with normally it's 1 to 2 players, solo, cooperative, competitive, but multiple copies of the game actually allows you to play with higher number of players. They have rules for that in their rule book.
Ah.
So you can get like larger games. Now, granted, that can be like that's like okay, you need to spend like $40 to get 4 people. Still, I've heard plenty of games like this that like adapt. The more stuff you get, the easier way it is to adapt to higher level players. So,
yeah. And it's only 10 to 30 minutes, but you can set it aside because each encounter is resolved separately, which is nice.
Yeah, so
it's like, oh wait, we're running a little behind on time, but let's finish this next time.
And as much as it has a pretty decent sized rule book, the rules aren't that difficult in the rule book. I'm gonna say like it's not like a 28-page book that could compare to some like 5-page books in the amount of information that's being provided in them. You know,
right?
There's certainly some books that you can get that are like filled to the brim with stuff on how to play and stuff, and this one is just it's because it's like a small book to fit in the box. So they do give the rules for the co-op, large co-op mode, which is 3+ players requiring additional game boxes. The competitive play, which is 2 or more players, which again, has its own rules, and team-up skirmishes or team games, which are similar, like you could do co-op and competitive at the same time with each different box kind of thing. So there's a lot of different interesting ways of play, and the fact that they list a lot of these in here are very cool, which is something that normally you don't see a lot of, that they're giving in the rulebook the exact way to play with these multiples. So, I'm definitely...
Interesting.
It looks interesting. It looks very interesting, and I think that's one. Like, it's one that given the opportunity, might pick it up. All right, let's see what we got here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 more topics. Let's head up the Unity RPG. I think that's a good one. Let me see. Unity RPG. It was looks to be a Kickstarter. That is out now. I think that's the correct one.
There's also a unity-rpg.com site.
Yeah. I'm trying to make sure I'm getting the correct one,
From what I'm seeing, it has 4 races and 4 classes.
Okay. I think we're looking at different ones right now, unless they're publishing it. Let me check.
Yeah, they are well, this one, saying it's being published.
Okay, it is the same one. Modifius is putting it out then.
Okay.
So they might have also kickstarted it. I just wanted to make sure it was the same one, and I'm looking at the book, a picture, and it's the same one on Modifius' website. That's where I'd seen it, that it was coming out. That's what's like, wait a second, why isn't it showing up under where I thought I saw this originally when I looked up this topic for last week? Oh, that's why. Because when you look up the actual game, they give the actual website, not the fact that it's up on Modifius.
Right.
So it's another, it's all about, 4 races that come together and unify grim horrors of the world. You're past a golden age, so it's like a remnants of a world that wasn't a golden age, when mortals rose to challenge the god. There's ancient technologies that blur the line between reality and wonder, colossal mechanized machine from bygone era. So it's interesting because it's like apocalyptic fantasy.
Yeah.
It's taking like it's almost making it like a traditional fantasy setting, but overlaying the fact that there was like some kind of thing that, like, a golden age that fell. Maybe not, like, super apocalyptic the same way. You know, that when we talk about the apocalypse, like a Fallout kind of thing. But, like, some horrible disaster that destroyed society as it is and reduced it back to this level of, almost more medieval. But there's still the remnants of the bygone age of, like, technology and stuff like that. I mean, the entire thing of, like, the sentence stride atop colossal mechanized machines from a bygone age is kind of awesome sounding for my, like, fantasy character to be doing. Or my more fantasy-related character.
Yeah, there's the Vala, the Furian, human, and afflicted. Are the races. And then there seems to be 3 classes, actually, because it has classes and enemies. The Merkwalker is the enemy example.
Yeah.
So there's the Dreadnought, the Primalist, and the Cultist.
Yeah. I mean, there might be more if we actually would get the book, though, too.
They do have a PDF download that's free, though.
They got the character sheet and a sampler. Yeah. They have a quick start. Oh, I'm sorry. In their version, a sampler.
Yeah.
Modifius.
Which I just downloaded.
Okay, great. That can always help. Oh God. It's $60 USD.
Oh, they have the full timeline in here too.
Well, that's kind of cool. You kind of get an idea of their history by that.
Yeah, let's see. Quickly, there's creations. Skyfather and Ivory Queen emerge. The Vala are created. Exodus event. The Furians are created. First contact. Humanity is created. Stone Curtain. Full contact. The Chaos Wars. Skyfather's sojourn. Crimson Horde. The Tolarian Accords. Golden Age. Falling Queen, and then the Great Calamity, Civil War, and Rise of the Afflicted.
All right, then.
There's 3 ages: Age of Strife, Age of Unity, and Age of Wrath. Age of Wrath is the last age on the timeline.
So it's kind of probably the one that people are in right now. That's cool. No, I think this is an interesting... I think it's what Modifius does best is they try and find interesting ways to niche out genres that actually exist a little bit, or find very interesting niche genres when it comes to RPGs. The fantasy apocalyptic setting is something that just sounds so weird. And when you describe what this is, that's it's a fall of a golden age into a world that's a lot more like your traditional fantasy games, but also then, apocalyptic with ancient technologies and giant machines and stuff. It's that's interesting sounding,
Right.
I think it's what Modifius does best.
Okay, the Cultist is actually an enemy too. So the 2 that they preview are the Primalist and the Dreadnought.
Yeah.
Classes.
Yeah, and I think it's if you just call it a fantasy RPG, which is what it is, you don't give it a little bit of the credit it's due.
Oh, they even have a short story on the Golden Empress. Sorry.
Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
No, that the kind of little sampler stuff they put out and quick start stuff that Modifius puts out are always kind of cool. So good on them. I don't know if they would it be enough to test out the game system?
It might be. It gives all the basic fighting rules and stuff. I'm also looking at it on the Unity page. I don't know. Modifius's has more or less.
Okay. So, if you want to check it out, I would recommend checking out the 40-page sampler. You might not be able to play the game off of it. Maybe you can. If you can, great for you, and then you can see if you like it, test it out. If not, at least you can get a sense of what this game is. It's a very interesting setting, I definitely think. I love seeing RPGs that use these combo genres almost, or redefine genres in a way.
Oh, and it doesn't require dice.
That's interesting.
Or GM... Oh, okay, sorry. GM dice rolling is not required. You can if you want.
Oh.
But the system lets you simply focus on narrating and adjusting and creating spectacular situations for players. So you can if you want, you don't have to.
Okay.
For the GM.
Okay, I get you.
So it
GM
could be
might
more
not
just
need-
a storytelling,
Mhm.
theater of the mind, or you could do it as traditional.
It could be that, like, the system basically that however your player rolls dice results in whether, you hit the enemy, miss them, or get hit by the enemy. It could be that, like, the amount of my success determines that. If I, like, fail by a spectacular amount, the enemy's hitting me back.
Right.
That
And
could
They
be
even
it.
have a thing called fail forward. Even when failing, there are rules that facilitate moving the narrative forward in an interesting way or providing an option to move combat along. A miss doesn't have to mean that nothing happens.
That's very interesting. It seems like a very interesting system, too, that they're experimenting with.
Oh, it's a 2d10 system.
Oh, it's a 2d10 system. Okay. Normally, Modifius does 2d20 system, so it's good to see one a 2d10 system.
It's a 2d10 with modifiers to achieve your goals, a simple roll versus a target number across all activities, in and outside of combat determine success. Examples are leaping across chasms, stealing some pie, or skewing a marauder.
And the fact is that I've had a little experience with a 2d10 system because when Worm was doing his Bastion Frontier, he changed it from a d20 to 2d10 system.
Okay.
So we were having it. So it was very different the ways that dice rolls work. So cool.
With 2d10, you're guaranteed at least a 2.
Yes. You but then a 2 is your critical fumble, and it becomes in a way actually mathematically harder though too. Cool. Okay, Unity RPG. It is available now from Modifius. Check out the starter or the sample. I'm sorry, if you want to get an idea about it. Let's talk about Fairy Tale Fluxx. It's a new Fluxx. We'll keep this one simple just to get it out of the way. I love Fluxxes. They have awesome ones. I'm surprised they didn't do like something like this earlier.
Yeah, instead of some of the ones they've done.
Yeah, I mean they're not.
Fluxx.
They're nowhere near as bad as
Munchkin.
Munchkin is an abomination when it comes to these things, but there has been some really weird Fluxxes out there that I definitely agree are like, why did you do this before you did like Fairy Tales?
Right.
Because they have Star Fluxx and Star Trek Fluxx. Because remember, we talked about Star Trek Fluxx.
Right.
I don't know. There are definitely a few Fluxxes in here that are like, when I look at like Looney Labs' page of Fluxxes, that are just wow. And they've got some that I think are probably I don't see on here because they must be discontinued from normal use. Like it wasn't Nature Fluxx. There's another one that's all like natural, and I don't see the Stoner one, which I never liked.
No.
So I don't know. That's odd. I guess they just sort of forgot about some things because they're like, we're just gonna meh off the edge here. We don't need this anymore.
Let's see. There's Batman Chemistry, Cthulhu, Doctor Who, Firefly, regular Fluxx, Fluxx Dice, Fluxx SE, Holiday Fluxx, Math Fluxx, Monster Fluxx, Monty Python, Nature, Pirate, Star, Ugly. Oh no, that's something else. And Zombie Fluxx. Oh, the ones in the vault are CN, Eco Fluxx, Family
Fluxx. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking.
Martian Fluxx, Oz Fluxx, and regular show Fluxx are in the vault.
Oh, the CN is Cartoon Network. That's right.
Okay.
Yes, okay, because I saw that one there. They didn't mention.
And coming soon is Star Trek Fluxx, and then also Star Trek: The Next Generation Fluxx.
Yeah, because I thought we had talked about those a couple of weeks ago that they're working on those. But it's
just weird that it's like, why don't you just combine it into one Star Trek Fluxx?
Well, I remember when we were reading about them that they were doing some things different about them that would try to make them more unique to each other. And I think that was not necessarily a bad thing to make it that, like, each of them works a little differently. And then if you do that, I can see that, you know.
Yeah, and there's Fluxx the board game.
Fluxx the board game was always kind of weird sounding. I only read about it a little bit, but...
Yeah.
I mean, the branded Fluxxes are a mixed bag, I think, in my idea. Like,
I noticed, though, Pot Fluxx is nowhere on their site.
No, they've ignored it completely. The Stoner Fluxx or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or Stoner Fluxx.
Yeah. Like, Monty Python Fluxx was
fun.
And because it's something that's crazy to begin with, being in a crazy game worked pretty well. Like, Batman and Firefly and Doctor Who. I'm not sure about that. Like, the Star Trek ones? I'm not sure about them. We already have a Star Fluxx, you know? Granted, that's more generic sci-fi, but still...
Well, even Doctor Who Fluxx is like, there was already a generic one that had Doctor Who references in it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
But maybe there's enough people asking for it.
Yeah, that's true.
And Family Fluxx.
I don't know Mary Eaglebright, but apparently she's the one illustrating stuff for Fairy Tale Fluxx, and maybe she's famous enough to make it very, you know, like, interesting. Because apparently she's the, like, she's being pushed forward as an important figure as part of it. I'm gonna look her up.
Okay.
Graphic artist and children's illustrator.
I can see that. I mean...
Okay.
Most of the Fluxx games are family-friendly.
Yes. And I'm guessing...
I'd say there's only one that's not.
Yes. Yes, I will agree on that one. So getting someone that's like a more famous illustrator to do your Fairy Tale one, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, the age is not different than any other Fluxx, so I don't feel like it's going to be any more childish than any other Fluxx. And just, like, keeping it with simple, like, you know, more Grimm's Fairy Tale is something that's definitely, we do see sometimes stuff with that, but not as much, I think, you know, just keeping it simple, you know.
Yeah.
What do you got, like a wolf as the keeper or something, and then, you know, like, you're trying to, like, are the goals, like, based on different fairy tales? That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, probably, there's probably different ones, like, you know, you might have Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah, but you need both of them to do that, or, like, you know, something like that. So, no, I think there's definitely a lot of potential in that one, and I like that one almost better than the Star Trek Fluxxes, because... or any of the other licensed ones.
Because it's still a generic one.
Yes, because as much as...
It encompasses many things instead of focusing on one...
Because you could also go outside the box when we're talking about fairy tales, you know?
Right. But see, that's why I'm saying... You know, with the Star Trek Fluxxes, I think you just, you know, if you're going to focus on Star Trek in general, you could just do a general Star Trek Fluxx that encompasses all the series instead of, we're going to do a Star Trek Fluxx, which I'm guessing then was the original series, and then a Next Generation one. Do you really need to do that? Do you need to be that specific?
I don't know. I think this is bringing back that old point about the Star Trek Fluxxes when we're talking about a product that we really like that they're putting out, and then it's bringing back the memories of the not so sure about this.
Right. It's just like I said. You need to be as specific as a certain you know, a certain edition of Star Trek, or can you be more generic? Like Star Fluxx, you know, had stuff from Star Trek, all the, you know, different genres. It had Doctor Who. It had, you know, lots of different sci-fi things.
Yeah,
those work well. It's like, ooh, cool. But if you're going to do just Star Trek, I don't think focusing in on each genre of it or each edition of it, you need to do separately. Not for a game like Fluxx.
Nope, I can agree with that. I think one of those things about it that the very argument against it to a degree is the fact that there is a lot of option for more stuff almost, you know. I think
Right.
that's the entire thing about it, is there is an opening for a lot of things because there are a lot of what was I gonna say? Each series has a lot of things to it. You know, it's a lot of
Right.
episodes, a lot of stuff like that. So
I mean, you can easily do each series, but I think a general would be better for this type of game.
no, I can agree on that one. So, but it's out now. It's going to be coming out soon. Both of them. So I mean, it's up to you how you think about these fluxes and if you want to try them both out. Like the Star Trek ones, I don't know if I think we've been on the agreement those are hard recommendations. I mean, fluxes are always great, but they're still hard recommendations. But the Fairy Tale, definitely gonna get behind that one more.
Yeah.
Because fairy tales can very easily be more like a fractured fairy tale and fit within the flux purview of kind of just a little silly.
Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, fluxes are easy recommendations too because they're not expensive and they're quick, fun games.
Yeah, $20, and you could easily play them over and over again. Even like all the different ones. Like, I would definitely say a lot of those different unusual ones that they have are always really fun. All right, we got 2 more topics. Let's try to quickly hit them up. Let's do Doppelganger, another game by WizKids, but a very interesting one. It's like you're fighting not against external enemies, but those within. So, this one has... give me a second, because I'm clicking on weird stuff while trying to read about this, or get information about this. It's an adventure party card game that has a traitor mechanic, where one of the players is a doppelganger. Trying to stop the players from finding 3 artifacts of light. The party leader invites certain adventurers to join them on a quest. Each adventurer then throws item cards in the mix that help the quest succeed or fail. And you choose dice for battles. Will use your best weapons, your best potions, that kind of thing. And then you also have the doppelganger trying to stop you, of course. And being the traitor. So it's playing against the board game, but also playing against one of the players, which I think was a very interesting mechanic. So I'm definitely guessing that you have to have at least 3 players.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, if you wouldn't, it would probably play very awfully. Just saying. Because you just wouldn't have enough people. Let's see what they say, though, because I probably should have seen it. 4 to 8 players, they say, which is actually a little better.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, again, like WizKids, you can check out the rules yourself. It's a game that's only supposed to take about 30 minutes. It's a trader-based game, which we don't... I think most of the time you get trader-based games, they're not individual traders, you know, unless it's very low number of players. This one specifically is always going to be one person. Like, if you're talking about something like a Resistance, then technically speaking, you have, like, you know, you're playing with like 5 people, and then 2 of them are traders in that one, you know, and that's a trader-based game. Now, like Betrayal at House of the Hill is a trader-based game, but you don't learn who the betrayer is until like about halfway through, so that changes the dynamic in a different way entirely. While this one, you have someone that's a doppelganger from the beginning trying to work against you.
Right.
So it's a very interesting and different dynamic from your tradition, from a lot of trader-based games that we see now. It is the downloadable rules don't work right now. They'll probably have it updated soon. You know, I know we've run into this problem before, that it's just like they don't have the proper updates or something. You know, they don't have it technically out yet for whatever reason. But it was pretty good if you want to check it out at some point in time. So, I thought this was an interesting one. A good trader game and a cooperative one's always interesting. Especially when it makes playing against the board more difficult. Not that I don't mind just playing against the board sometimes. Like, what would we talk about? Like Arkham Horror, where the board is going to beat you up, period?
Yeah.
Or, something like I'm blanking out. Like one of the D&D board games where the board might beat you up, or at least it will be a challenge.
Okay, so if you pass 3 quests, you win.
Mm-hmm.
If you fail 3 quests, you lose.
And the doppelganger is basically playing as part of the team, but also trying to sabotage it.
The doppelgangers win, or if you fail 3 times, because each time you find an artifact of darkness.
Okay.
Oh, may be found. So it might be more than 3 fails, but it says every time a quest fails, an artifact of darkness may be found. If there are 3 uncovered, the doppelgangers win. And it's the reverse for the artifacts of light.
So I'm guessing since they say doppelgangers, it might also be that just at very high play, you get high number of play of characters. They do multiple ones, you know.
Yeah.
Which it's still though the fact that like at 4 players, only one of them might be a doppelganger is a little bit of uniqueness. Because as I said, like when you're doing something like Resistance, it's very rare that you only get like one person versus the rest. Because it's very hard to play some of those trader games when you're on your own. So this does sound like one that maybe the sweet spot's a little bit more than 4 players. Maybe like 5 or 6 might be the sweet spot of characters.
All right.
That's interesting. Cool. Well, Doppelganger is available now, and if you want to do like a game with a very interesting trader mechanic, I definitely recommend it. Those are always fun.
Looks interesting.
Yeah. We got one last topic. Why don't we quickly hit it up, and then we can move on. I don't
have any
Kickstarter. I'm not going to bother to Kickstarter this week because we are working on like 3 weeks of open space. But before we get into our last topic, I'm just going to say I'll do our spiel for Kickstarter Korner and stuff. But so I want to talk about River. Days of Wonder. What they're really known for is, of course, Ticket to Ride and Small World. Those are the 2 big games that they're known for. They do have some other ones, like Shadows of a Camelot, which I think is a really cool one that I don't ever get a chance to play. But they have a new one that they're planning out called The River, where it's basically pioneering down a river in search of new lands to settle and untouched frontiers. The player with the most impressive settlement will determine the victory. So this is kind of an interesting little one because it's taking on some of like a little bit of Settlers, a little bit of the expansion feelings of like Ticket to Ride, and it's coming in this like interesting area of as a tile placement game too.
Yeah.
So it's for 2 to 4 players, 30 to 45 minutes. I've got a double-sided board, 4 sets of components containing 1 river boat, a boat, 5 pioneers, a bunch of terrain tiles, and bonus tokens.
And you got wood, clay, stone, and food.
So some resource management too. Yeah, and $40 is the price that they're going for. I think that's a pretty cool one.
And you got meeples.
Those are always wonderful. I think it's like I always enjoy a good game of like Settlers and something.
Right.
So there's always a place for resource management or exploration games. Ticket to Ride's always fun, and Days of Wonder does some really good games like this. So that's kind of when I saw that they were doing this and it was going to be coming out, I was kind of anticipating it, kind of thing. I was like, oh, that's a very nice one. That looks kind of cool.
They might not have a huge array of games under their belt, but they're all very good quality.
Yeah. I mean, they've done a bunch of... They do a little too many Ticket to Rides, but at least they seem to always put a different mechanic or different spin to them when they're doing them, which I give them. That's a good thing. Like Europe had like a different mechanic. Like all these others have various different little mechanics that they try to make them unique. And I say kind of like good on them for that one, definitely. Oh my god, they have a billion Ticket to Rides. Anyway,
yes.
Was there anything else on this one I wanted to say?
They do have the downloadable PDF rules.
That's always good. Because you never know when you want to check out the rules. And
the link works.
And the art
And
looks
they
pretty
have
cool.
it in English, French, Dutch, Spanish, Polish, and Netherlands.
All right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll give you that one. That's an interesting selection of ones that's done.
And 2 to 4 players, 8 and up.
No, it looks like a fun little game.
Yeah.
Is it out now? It's either out now or very soon. I am so bad sometimes with these dates of these release for games because they're so unusual. Especially when you're trying to look up some of them because you have to look up directly from the company.
And then you go to their store.
Also, their store confuses me. Days of Wonder store is awful. Or not awful. I don't know. It's as if you're only getting, like, digital versions of their stuff.
Yeah. They don't have a full list of everything.
Nope.
And it's mainly Ticket to Ride stuff.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So maybe you can't buy from directly their games from their store?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
They do have a lot of Ticket to Ride products, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... like 21 different ones, it looks like, with 2 coming out. No, granted, some of them look very different, like the Ticket to Ride First Journey seems very, like, extra kid-friendly.
Oh, yeah, it's supposed to be for kids to learn, basically.
Yeah. While, like, just sometimes I'm curious, like, which ones have very different mechanics. Like, I'm trying to figure it out, which ones have strayed a little bit to make it unique. And that's, I think, kind of a bit of a challenge sometimes. But, anyway. Alright, so, yes. Kickstarter Korner. We're not having again. Sorry about it, guys. I know that, it's always good to support your local Kickstarters. What I'm basically going to say about this is that support your local Kickstarters. Go check out stuff. There's always great Kickstarters for a lot of role-playing games, a lot of great board games out there that maybe you might find one that you want to do. I'd say, if you have a little extra to get a board game or something, I would suggest maybe taking a look at a Kickstarter or something first.
The River is not out yet. It's pre-order.
Okay. I figured it was probably not, but I didn't know when it exactly was coming out. That's always a great question.
Thank you, Board Game Geek.
They are very helpful at times. Yes. So yeah. Not out yet. Coming soon. Pre-order. Check it out. It's cool. Yeah. And I was saying stuff that was helpful, and I'm forgetting it now because
you were saying stuff about Kickstarter. If you check out Kickstarter if you're looking for board games first. Maybe
yes.
Actually support someone who's trying to come out with something interesting.
Yeah.
Because you also get normally exclusives and stuff too that are really cool.
Yeah.
And you're helping out a company that might need the help.
Okay, this is interesting. This is very interesting. Okay, just as a side note, I was looking up some of the Ticket to Rides. Apparently, some of the Ticket to Ride boxes that sound like they're just one thing include 2 maps, and that's kind of cool. Like Ticket to Ride India has India and Switzerland with it. Why the 2 of them are together, I have no clue.
Even if it at least had India and like England, would make a little more sense.
Yes. Because they're like, it also includes Alan Armour's terrific map of Switzerland, specifically designed for 2 to 3 players.
Maybe they just put it as an add-on because they didn't know where else to
Well,
put
apparently it had been in the Ticket to Ride online. You could have done it.
it.
So, like, maybe that's why they included some of them. Like, another one, like, Asia has Team Asia, Legendary Asia, they say, so I don't know the difference between them. And, like, France had France and the Old West map.
You know, Old West France.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know sometimes. These are weird combinations. I mean, great for them for getting out more. And they do have a United Kingdom one, but the United Kingdom one is mapped with Pennsylvania. Uh-huh.
That hurts my brain.
Netherlands is on its own.
But that hurts my brain. Why is Pennsylvania in England?
Uh-huh. It also includes the Pennsylvania map, in a state full of railroad history. Oh, because we're railroad history famous.
Yes, we are.
We are very railroad history,
Yeah,
so that's why they
the
did
PA Railroad was very famous. I actually had a great grandfather who was an engineer on it.
Mm-hmm.
But still, to have it included with England,
Yeah, I don't know.
like I could see maybe making a special edition with America. You know, wasn't that the original one was America?
Yeah, it was U.S.
Yeah. So maybe make a special edition with the original that Pennsylvania would be included. But
Okay.
to add it to England's a little weird.
Okay, so like for the United Kingdom, they have new train cards and tech cards and stock share cards for Pennsylvania. So I'm guessing like each of them has little differences that make up something.
It's still kind of a weird combination.
Oh, like United Kingdom is very interesting because if you get like there's Diesel, which allows you to use two different colored cards in place of 3.
Ah.
Yeah, so it's like, it's like a special card that I can do this then for certain places, you know. And I think that's kind of interesting. That's what I wanted to say about the Ticket to Rides, that they give little differences between each other. That make all right, yeah, Kickstarter Korner we talked about. We did a lot of stuff, so I'm not gonna keep it simple for our week in gaming since both of us mainly did it together. We played some tabletops over some Saturdays. We did some good games, plenty of recommends. Did some stuff on some Sundays, not all of them. Madness of the Land Thursdays, D&D, recommend it. Check it out.
Yes, it's been crazy.
We went from probably one of the lower sessions, I think, with everything that happened last week, and to this week's, which I think made up for it a lot, with psychic rats and flying mechanical men to blind trolls that wanted to eat your guts and feed you to a wife.
And I was gonna say, and the white. That it was his pet.
Uh-huh. He wanted to eat your guts and then feed your still living body to the white to finish you off. Then he probably would have just beaten the zombie that was created down because he's a troll.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't have been nummy anymore. No more nummy.
And we talked to a tree.
I
asked it politely to move.
believe I missed one word with that entire sentence that made you think it was like a literal tree standing up instead of one on its side.
He didn't mention that the tree had been that was fallen over, and we just
thought
it was a tree that was growing right in front of the exit, and
I'm like,
I'm trying to squeeze around.
And then I'm like, it looks like it can move, but I'm like, really?
We were like, well, if it's rooted, how would it move? So I'm trying to squeeze around to see if there's any way to, what's on the other side.
When you're really squeezing under it, technically.
Yeah, and then at one point, one of the characters asked it politely, "Could you please move for us?"
I loved that, and it was so bad.
It's like, well, maybe it's a treant.
It was worse when I was thinking about it. It was so hilarious because I was still thinking I had I hadn't missed the word.
Right.
So I thought you were all thinking the same as me. Oh my god.
Yeah, no, we were not talking about to a tree that had fallen. We thought that it was still planted.
Look, it only takes one bit of miscommunication, which
Yes.
that's the thing is that's very easy to do. and then it goes in a wildly different direction that's hilarious.
Yeah. But then once we knew it fell, it's like, oh, then we just shove it aside.
Yep. I think in the last couple of weeks I did have the finally had the finale of Bastion Frontier, which was fun. We finished it up, had a good resolve, and I had character creation for my vampire game, which is coming on Tuesday. Legacies of Kain. That'll be our first session then. So next week, expect Vampire, Madness of the Land. You know, we might have Sundays at the Tabletop. I'm unsure what's going on for that right now. We'll figure it out. So,
yeah.
Cool. Final segment then. Since we did our week in Tabletop in a very interesting manner there, just to, you know, catch up on like 3 weeks.
Yes.
Consult the table. If you ever have any questions you want to ask us about tabletop, more nerdy stuff, whatever, consult us. We answer questions. You can leave it here in chat. You can leave it in the comments of the YouTube channel. You can send it to me in my Discord, Worm's Discord. Any of our Twitters, which are added below our names. Lots and lots of ways to contact us about just questions you might have to ask. Yep. I think that's about it. Expect that there might be some updates to Discussing Tabletop in the near future. Just there's some things that I think I have to update it with how things have been going on with the show, just to make it a little bit more regular and stuff like that. I will keep people informed when I figure out what's really going on with that and fixing it. So for now, just know that we will be looking into that to make it that we won't miss as many weeks as we had previously, because we know it had been quite a bit of time
All right.
we had in between here. So, all right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Joe, I'm guessing you do your normal thing of supporting me wherever I'm
Yeah.
at.
I support you as usual.
Yeah, and I'll be back. Should be back tomorrow morning for something. I'm thinking Hat in Time. I will be back at least next week to finish our catch up on Discussing Tabletop, since we still got like a week and a half worth of topics to handle before we're caught up from our big break. And there's always crazy stuff going on that we should talk about. This was last week's docket for when I was wanting to do things and trying to get a bonus episode, and they just did not work out for both of our schedules to get a bonus episode. So, all right, everyone. Hope you have a great rest of your Saturday. We'll see you next week, and we'll both see you on Thursday, Madness of the Land, and maybe tomorrow night. So, have a good one, and we'll see you later.
Come on.